Welcome to the Complete Game Podcast, where we're all about baseball with Ethan Dungan, owner of Glovehound Baseball Glove Repair Shop, Rick Finley, founder of MD&I Baseball Academy, and the creator of George Foster Baseball, the MVP himself, Reds Hall of Famer George Foster. I'm your host, Greg Dungan. Now let's talk baseball. So this week we're talking about outfielding specifically. We wanted to go into the fielding category, and we thought what better to start with than outfielding specifically, mainly because, George, you played outfield, and because we're trying to tackle a certain problem, and that is that outfield gets a bad rap, especially when you're a kid, because not much happens out there, and you can get bored out there, and you can start to feel like maybe you got punished by people sending you out there, and we want to turn that around and kind of talk about how important it is to have a great outfield, how important it is to specialize in certain skills, and what opportunities can open up to you because you did. So we're going to see how to see the outfield as an opportunity. That's the title of the episode. But we're going to start off first with Name 5. Now, the first week, Rick got to go first, and he ate up all the good choices. And last week, we let George go first, so Rick didn't take all his people. So this week, Ethan, you get to go first. So he'll name all of the great outfielders from the last 5 minutes, and then the rest of us can talk about baseball.
Yes, there you go.
All right, well, I'll start off with a not-so-current. My number one is Ichiro Suzuki.
Oh. That's what I got down.
I had a feeling.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yes.
He's just a guy who embodies the position offensively and defensively. 10 gold gloves, it's hard to argue with that. And man, just had an absolute rocket for an arm, and that's going to be the theme of my list is the
rocket arm.
Is the rocket arm.
Yes.
There's not really much else to say about Ichiro. I mean, everybody knows it already. Number 2 is our friend Vladimir Guerrero Sr.
Yes, Vlad.
Oh,
yes.
And
Vlad had a cannon.
We should have brought him up last week. I don't know if we did or not, but talk about a guy who didn't care about the strike zone.
I did.
Dude was
I did. Yes.
Okay,
he could protect his own zone.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was going to swing at everything, but he had an absolute cannon for an arm. Really fun to watch out there, and played out there for a long time too.
Yes, he did.
Number 3 and number 4. I'm going to lump them together for a specific reason. Number 3 is Yoenis Cespedes. And number 4 is Yasiel Puig. Now, the reason is because there was a time when I was playing in about 2013, 2014, that it seemed like every week one of those dudes was throwing somebody out from right field to third or from left to home. Yes. And I ate that up. I was watching SportsCenter every time they had one of those throws, and I didn't even play outfield, and I wanted to be those guys.
Yes,
absolutely.
And those are great choices, man. Those guys did have arms, too. You did not want to run on them.
And then my last guy is Billy Hamilton.
Okay.
I mean,
Billy.
And he's not so much an arm as much as range. I mean,
He had range.
If I had to pick one outfielder, like if I could only have one outfielder and out there rather than 3, I would pick Billy Hamilton. He would be my guy because he just pulled in absolutely everything, and he was so much fun to watch out there.
He started at shortstop.
Yes, he did.
And he went to the outfield.
Yes.
This guy could, like you say, he could run. He cover the whole ground out there. Whatever the Pacific Ocean didn't cover, he covered.
I know another Red shortstop who probably ought to be playing in the outfield.
Yes, I didn't say that.
All right, Rick, who you got?
Well,
better not say
Ichiro, Ken Griffey Jr. at his prime, dog. He was a beast.
Especially in the 90s.
Yes, he was a beast, man. He can go get it, man, climb the wall, everything, gold gloves. And then my next guy is Mookie Betts, man.
Oh, yeah.
Mookie, he's a run saver, man. And especially playing before he got traded to the Dodgers when he played right field a lot at Boston.
Yes.
And saving a lot of runs.
6 gold gloves and still going.
Yes, still going. This is going back to the Reds days, man. Eric Davis. Eric Davis was Eric Davis was my guy, man. I like Eric, man. He just embodied everything, man.
He was cool like you.
Yeah. Ricky Henderson I like because my son Ricky is kind of pattern his game after Ricky a little bit, from the hitting to the outfield and stuff like that. And my last is kind of grouped together, older guys, Willie Mays and Roberto Clemente.
Oh, man.
You got it. Do you have a list left, George?
Willie Mays,
I'm going
I think coming up
together. Man.
From the arm talent to over the shoulder, everybody used to do that. And so when I was teaching my son Ricky how to play outfield, he had range and stuff, and those are the guys that you kind of pattern your outfield after. And then another guy played with George. This is probably a 6 guy, Cesar Geronimo.
You caught you group somebody, now you're going to have 6.
Okay,
just breaking the rules.
No,
that's
more.
it.
You're cut off.
I'm cut off. Okay, I'm a rule breaker. I'm sorry.
Okay, now
that's it.
I'm gonna give an official rules declaration here. Okay.
Okay. Yes. Do
George,
that.
anytime somebody takes your people, if you played with them, you can have them too. That's the way it works.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Well, yeah, because they don't know as much as I do.
You go.
That's right. So you can have Willie Mays back. There you
go.
Yeah. Say hey, kid.
Yes, sir.
No, I know it goes way back, but everybody heard the name Willie Mays, and the thing is about Willie Mays, of course, the center fielder.
Right.
He's only the captain of the outfield, and he should be calling for the ball, but Willie Mays wouldn't call for the ball. So I'm playing left field. And I'm like, please don't hit the ball to left center, because Willie Mays and George Foster may collide, and maybe George Foster's last game. Matter of fact, the Giants had a left fielder. Him and Willie Mays collided, and the next year he was playing in Japan. So I said I wasn't ready to go to Japan at the time. But Willie Mays, he patrolled that outfield, and I mean, he was flashy out there, but he took a ball that maybe is an ordinary play and make it look extraordinary.
Yes.
And having a good arm, but he's always in control. And so I just love watching him play. But like I said, good arm, good instinct, great speed out there, and great control. The other guy is Roberto Clemente. When you hit a ball down the right field line, just stay at first base. Because he would wheel and throw the ball to first. You don't know. It's on you so quickly. Yeah. But just watching him, how I look at him as a gazelle out in the outfield. Man, he didn't seem like he's going to get to it, but he could get to it under control. But I had first seen Clemente at Dodger Stadium, and the Dodgers had ended up winning the game, and Roberto Clemente threw the ball over the fence into the outfield because into the parking lot rather, because he was upset. I said, "Wow, what a great arm!" Then we heard all the alarms go off when he hit those cars. But now we come back. But this other guy, nobody really talked much about, Colavito. He played. I remember we went with the Indians. He wasn't known for his bat or anything that extraordinary, but that arm, had a gun for an arm, like Ethan was talking about Ichiro and those guys could really fire the ball. But this guy, he's finally got into the Hall of Fame, Dave Parker. And I think, in the All-Star game, he threw 2 guys out and at third and at home. And those guys you don't really want to dare as far as trying to score. And then plus you're trying to score at home, and then you have a catcher like, say, a Johnny Bench or
Gary Carter.
Gary Carter, yeah. No, I was going to talk about a Dodger catcher. You don't want to have to run into a Dodger catcher because you may have to be on a stretcher afterwards. Because those guys, they want to hurt you up there. Not only get you out, but hurt you. And now we go to Dave Winfield, another guy. Like 6'8". This guy could have played football, basketball, anything. But he chose baseball. It could have gone pro. I mean, pro in those certain areas.
Yes.
But what a gun for an arm, because they put him in right field. But I love watching him throw. But I knew those guys. That's why I think it encouraged me to hit home runs, so I don't have to run against those guys. But you have maybe a third base coach. He may not like you, so he's going to intentionally say go. And then the worst part is that the the catcher has the ball. So what are you going to do? Are you going to run across the mound back to second? But I've seen that happen. The guy runs across the mound back to second base. And what is he doing? This is crazy. I don't know where this guy's from.
That's funny.
No, but those guys were very entertaining. And watch, like in the All-Star game, last but not least, in the All-Star game, you had Dave Parker, Dave Winfield, and a guy named Reggie Smith. Those guys.
Reggie Smith was a player.
I mean, they're talking about the ball takes off. That ball was taken off. And I was another outfielder going to throw. I said, no, I don't feel like throwing today. I may be able to get to the cutoff man, but these guys were throwing the ball over the catcher's head. And I said, I just love watching. Just come watch them take infield. And that was entertainment in itself.
Yes.
That's great. Yeah, the one of the cool robbing plays that I watched over the weekend while I was doing my research was when Torrey Hunter robbed one from Barry Bonds. That was a good one.
That was nice.
That was beautiful. So I'm going to give some love to the guys from my era. Not a lot of Hall of Famers. There's a few of them in this list. But these are the guys when we were playing in the backyard, we're like, oh, I want to be this guy. Oh, I want to be that guy. Right. So, and Ethan, it's interesting because he grew up in a whole different era of baseball where you could get on television and you could see National League or American League or all kind of things. Yeah. And when I was a kid, man, we grew up in the NL Central and in the NL entirely.
Yes.
So, because you could only see what was on 3 channels on television, right? Yeah. So there was, you couldn't watch a lot of these American League
just
teams.
On 5.
So it's funny because he'll look at me and be like, "Your baseball world is so small," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, because that's all we had when I was a kid." Yeah. So I'm gonna I have more than 5. But,
go ahead.
But I'm gonna
Rick had more than 5.
Okay.
I should have went for 7.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to run down the National League of the guys that I remember who typified each team as we go down. So the Twins, that's Kirby Puckett.
Oh yeah.
That's Kirby
don't talk
Puckett.
about Kirby.
Now Kirby's all of Famer.
I thought I was going to score, and here comes Kirby throwing a beating to the plate. And I'm between home and third base. What should I do? Just go in a manhole or what? But that guy can throw.
Yeah, he could. Kirby Puckett was a chunk. He was good.
Yes.
And then see Kevin Mitchell. I remember Kevin Mitchell as a Giant. So it was the later 80s there. Okay. When I remember after he was in New York, Mets, I remember him with the Giants. But my favorite Kevin Mitchell moment, you know where I'm going.
He misjudged it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you know where I'm going. So I think it was Ozzie Smith hits the ball opposite field. It's taken off to the left field corner, and Mitchell's chasing it, and then reaches up with his bare hand and grabs it.
Right, yes, right. I remember that.
1989. I will never forget that game. It was. I didn't see the game, but I saw the highlights because by then everybody had cable, so I was able to see the highlights. But my goodness, what a play! And what was funny is the announcer says, "Yeah, Willie Mays said he's been working with him on that." I don't know. And so then I read a thing afterwards, and Mitchell said Willie called him after the game and said, "I didn't teach you to do that."
What are you doing out there?
So yeah, that was cool. And again, Eric Davis with the Reds. Eric Davis was the guy I remember the most with the Reds.
Yes.
With the Cubs, that was Andre Dawson. We're back to Andre Dawson again. Yeah, that guy was just tough. The Braves, there's only one. It's Dale Murphy. I mean, Dale Murphy was the man that he dominated the 80s for the Braves when I was a kid. The Padres, that was Tony Gwynn.
Yes.
The Pirates, I remember Dave Parker as a Pirate, even though he was only a Pirate till 83.
But he was
a Pirate for 10 years. I mean, 73 from the day I was born until the 83 when I was 10 years old. So I remember Dave Parker as a Pirate.
Yeah, the biggest, fastest man I ever seen.
Yes.
This guy get low to the ground.
Athlete, man.
Going with Willie Davis with the Dodgers. These guys, we call it a 3-dog as far as Willie Davis, but Dave Parker get low to the ground. But I would hate to be a shortstop or a second baseman. He's coming down. It's like, timeout.
The Phillies, that was Gary Maddox.
Oh, great. Gary Maddox and I were signed by the same scout.
Oh, tell me
so
about
we grew up together, and so he was from California area, and Gary Matthews, the other guy.
Yeah,
so,
I like Gary Matthews.
But look at this. Ethan would know though, because it's I'll let the cat out of the bag. So you had Matthews, Maddox, and Foster. So who played where? So I played center field with those guys.
Oh my goodness!
I would tell them what to do. But no, that was something. Gary Maddox, this guy he had those long strides and great arm,
he did.
and he was like Geronimo. He had a lively ball and a heavy ball, and I always had to play catch with him. And I tried to play burnout with him, but I always lose out. But Matthews, Maddox, and Foster were signed by this guy named George Genovese. But yeah, Maddox, great player. More for the Phillies.
Yeah, he was a Philly as far as I knew.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same
All right,
here.
and then that leaves us with the Cardinals, and I could not narrow it down. So I got Vince Coleman and Willie McGee.
Yeah, I like
the
both of
Cardinals.
them.
That is tough.
Both of them. I like both of them. That's kind of.
I couldn't pick just one. Both of those guys were just so tough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Expos, that was Tim Raines.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And
Tim
the
Raines.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say Ellis Valentine.
Oh
This
yeah,
guy-
he had
this
now,
guy-
Ellis had a cannon.
Yeah. But I'm
Yes.
thinking I'm cruised. I felt good. It was in spring training, and the balls hit the right field. So I'm on first. I'm going to third base. But as I'm going towards third base, I see an object go past me. And when I get to third, I realize it's the baseball. I was like, oh, I didn't know this guy could throw that well. So I found out the hard way.
Let's see. The Dodgers, that was Pedro Guerrero.
Okay.
Was the guy I
okay.
remember as outfield for
Yeah,
the
he
Dodgers.
was an outfielder.
The Astros, the guy I remember out there was Jose Cruz.
Oh yeah, the Cruz brothers, man. There's a
oh.
lot of them dudes.
Let's bring up Cesar Cedeno.
Yeah.
Yes.
This guy had 5 tools until he messed up his ankle at first base, but this guy could run.
And he was red for a while, too.
Yeah,
a
we
little
call it,
bit,
he didn't run,
yes.
he galloped out there.
And then, with the Mets, it was the three of you. It was you and Strawberry and Mookie Wilson.
Strawberry, yeah. I'll give it to Strawberry.
But Strawberry was the one I remember most.
I
when
could
was
see him now just cranking it from that right field corner and just unleash it. But he's so smooth.
Talk about a guy with just so much natural talent.
Yes. And sometimes it's not good because they don't work as hard to get better.
Yep.
And I always tell guys, better your best. I mean, you think wherever level you are, try to get to that next level. But Strawberry, that guy had Hall of Fame potential, but certain things are decision making, bad decision making.
Off field stuff.
Yep.
Got a quick question for George. Did you ever play with Daryl Boston? Or he was towards
briefly
the end?
with the
He
White
did?
Sox.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Daryl, I used to play against Daryl coming up. He went to Woolward, went to the high school that I went to. And I went to. He had a twin brother. A lot of people don't.
So I didn't know that. Maybe I was
know.
talking to the
I went
brother.
I went to school with his brother, his sister, both his brothers and his sister. Yeah, yeah. So,
cool.
but Daryl had a cannon. So I just wanted, and I know Daryl was drafted by the Mets, I believe, or White Sox.
White
Mets.
Sox, yeah.
Yeah.
The other name I just remember as a Met a lot was Lenny Dykstra. You just remember that
Lenny.
name.
It was what we called him, like I guess it's like a crusher because he would run into anything, and he'd come back bleeding or black eye or whatever, but he's gonna catch that ball.
Yeah, I mean, he was gonzo everywhere. I mean, he was just 90 miles an hour in every direction.
Yeah.
It seemed like every time he
But
played.
intensity, he had that intensity all the time.
And I got a couple of American League mentions because you just could not avoid knowing about these guys. Number one was Ricky Henderson. Everybody knew about Ricky Henderson.
Right.
Even if you couldn't watch the A's play a game, we all knew about Ricky Henderson. And then Bo Jackson with the Royals.
Oh, that's
Talk about the
that's
guy
my
that runs up the wall.
Oh, my
Yes.
Lance. I mean, you talk about probably the most gifted athlete I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, just unbelievable. Some of the stuff that he did as a baseball player, and he's mostly known for his football work. But goodness
that's what I
gracious.
loved him as an athlete because he was power football, power baseball.
Yes.
And you don't want to have to tackle him. This guy could run.
Yes.
And then of course in baseball he would clobber the ball. But I just see him running up that wall and stay on balance
Yes.
like that. That is crazy.
That's-
Well, now, there are some wild YouTube videos of him doing throwouts. So if you ever want to watch it, just being clear in the right field corner and gunning somebody at third base. Yeah. I mean, just not even a chance.
And he didn't even have a long
and he
motion.
played left too, so throwing home and all that. I mean,
but he didn't play much baseball when we were younger.
No, he didn't. No.
So
until he played for Auburn, and that's the most baseball he played when he was in college.
Yeah.
I did come across one very interesting Ricky Henderson stat. The catcher that threw Ricky Henderson out more than anybody else.
Huh.
Pudge?
Nope.
No. Well, probably unknown. I don't.
It was Bob Boone with the Phillies.
Really?
Bob Boone threw from what I read online. Bob Boone seemed to have Ricky Henderson's number. He threw him out more times than anybody else, from what I found.
Now, was Bob Boone at the time? Was he with the Phillies or was he with the Royals?
Angels.
Or Angels?
I don't know, because he would have played. He would have played mostly against Henderson if he was in the American League. So,
yes.
But they were both in the National League too. I just don't know if they were in the National League at the same time. I just read it was just this article about. They said one catcher seemed to have his number and seemed to be able to throw him out.
That's a name from the past. Bob Boone. Yeah.
See now, but then we grew up in Reds land with Aaron Boone and Brett Boone. So
yeah, I like Brett Boone, man.
So anyway, those are some pretty good
That's
outfield.
a great list.
So you finished the season last year, exhausted from all the travel and the tournaments, and you tossed your gear in a bag where it's been sitting all winter. Now you're ready for another year, but your favorite glove that fits just right is an error waiting to happen. The leather's dry, the laces are brittle, and this year you're on a new team with new colors, and it sure would be cool if it matched. Well, wouldn't it be great if you had a glove guy who could help you out with that? You do. His name is Ethan, and he owns Glovehound Baseball Glove Repair Shop in Fairfield, Ohio. Just contact him at glovehound.com and upload pictures of your glove. He'll give you a call back to talk it over, and then you can send it in for a repair, relace, recondition, whatever you need. If you're in the area, you can even just stop by the shop. That way you don't have to bother with shipping, and a lot of times he can even fix it while you wait. Rawlings, Wilson, Mizuno, All-Star, Nakona, he's seen them all, and he's helped players at all levels, from beginners to pros. Last year, he worked on a glove that Jose Trevino used in the World Series, and he can help you too. You can find Glovehound on Google, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at glovehound.com. You're only going to get busier, so reach out today and give your glove the love it deserves at Glovehound. All right, so I want to move on here to our main thing. And we've got a series of questions that we're going to kick around. The first one is an interesting question. I'm asking what opportunities might open up to young players when they embrace playing the outfield. In other words, instead of getting stuck in the outfield, so you're turning a have to into a get to. Anytime you can turn a have to into a get to, that's a good situation. So if you can say, I have to play the outfield, and you can turn that into I get to play the outfield, and you embrace it, what kind of opportunities might open up for a person like that?
I would say it's look at that as being positive, and that you're a team player. And I look at a guy who's athletic, number one, that's fast, has great speed, and so I'm looking for that center fielder. A guy had a great arm, I'm putting him in right field, but make them feel valuable, and finding a position that's going to help him to become successful, but teaching them how to, like they were talking about Trout moving to right and talking about Dominguez, I think, moving to left. I laugh at the fact that because he lost the ball in the sun the other day, and I mean it's not easy. Before they were saying, anybody can play the outfield, but they find that's not the truth.
That's true.
But being able to catch the ball out of the sun, it's a certain technique to do it. I learned that from Willie Mays. If not, you got to wear a catcher's gear out there getting hit in the head. Or being able to have something that's so that ball hit the ball hit that certain area, it bounced straight up so the opposite fielder could get it. But it takes a lot of work and somebody who knows how to play the outfield, or being able to teach it. But everybody take it lightly that, you just go to the outfield, catch a fly ball or catch a ground ball. What's so big deal about that? It's just how the ball's going to slice. Catching the ball out of the sun, and then checking the wind if it's blowing in, blowing out, the ball down the line, things as such, and then your footwork. I mean, that's when we talked about we're going to do outfield play. I got more excited talking about the outfield than hitting, because there's so many aspects of the game playing the outfield, and it's the last line of defense.
Yes, that's it.
And if the ball get past you, like, forget about it. Yes. But you have a guy like Geronimo. We did talk about Geronimo being in the outfield.
Yeah, that's true.
So I made a contract with Geronimo. I said, I'm going to stand right 1 foot from the foul line. You have the rest of the area there. So you can just run like a gazelle out there. But no, we had a great core with Geronimo in center and Griffey in right, and I was in left, because they needed 9 players, so they put me out there. But playing the outfield, it's an art to it.
Yes,
and I enjoyed it.
Yes. My dad was an outfielder, so I learned a lot about playing the outfield. My son Ricky was an outfielder, so he learned a lot, taught him a lot about playing the outfield. Like George said, it is the last line of defense. Outfield actually could be good, but at the same time, you do have to some tools. You got to work on it. Grass, we taught our guys how to pick the grass up and see how the wind is growing, so you can break on the ball. A lot of agility drills. I think a lot of people don't do a lot of sprint work. I'm very keen on doing sprint work, doing agility. Throwing the ball up, catching it over your shoulders, throw it to your glove side, throw it to your, working on things like that. Reading. Another skill is understanding the ground and how it bounces and how balls move through the ground. If it's wet, guess what? You don't want to run straight across. You banana and get behind the ball. So, of course, the ball don't skid past you. Lot of different things. Clouds, sun, wearing sunglasses and things like that. So I spend a lot of time developing outfield play. I really do. And I look at my outfielders as track stars, guys, because you want guys to be able to cover ground on both sides, from the left side, center, here. I always say, and make plays, make diving plays, make heroic plays if you have to, and then teaching your outfielders how to communicate, how to back each other up. So it's a lot of skill that goes into that. Also, I think it says what opportunities might open up for young players. I think once players start learning how to drive the ball, then it's even more of an importance. And then probably around 11 and 12, when kids get a little bit stronger and can drive the ball to the outfield, versus 9 and 10-year-olds, because then you have to. A lot of 9 and 10-year-olds probably can't do that. So, of course, it might be boring out there for them. So that's why it's important to move kids around so they can understand the game and the positions and stuff like that.
But in the outfield, you got to let them know you got to be somewhere all the time.
Yes, you got to be moving.
I took pride when I'm playing left field, the ball's hit down the right field line, I'm backing up third base. And there were a couple of times that I'm backing up third base, the ball got past the third baseman. And the third base coach didn't see I was back there. So he was just telling the guy, go, go, go. And I'm standing right there. I said, nope, I got you. So now it's just up to me to make a good throw to the catcher. But you got to know where to go. And I see a lot of guys just standing there. They're not backing up third or backing up their fellow outfielder. There's some place you need to be other than standing in one place.
Yes. Well, and talking, too. Like if you're going towards the line, okay, first baseman, because you got the Bermuda Triangle, I always say. You're going towards the line. And, again, you playing left field or third baseman, shortstop going. You got to let them know, fence, fence, fence. How to reach or whatever. You got to communicate those things. That's another big thing of playing the outfield, talking.
Right.
Talking.
When you mention it being boring, I think that's definitely the reputation that it gets. But I think it's one of those things that you can make it as boring or not boring as you want to as the player.
Attitude.
There you go.
I think first it starts with the coaches, like you were saying. Somebody has to teach them all of the little intricacies, and if no one ever teaches you that, then it's very boring because you're just standing out there waiting to go bat.
Right.
But just because the ball's not hit to you doesn't mean there's not something to be doing. And I think giving the young kids all of the little assignments and the checklist to go through in their head really makes that a lot less boring, and you can turn something that was boring into something that is action-packed if you always have something to be doing.
Let me ask you guys about this. So if a kid decides, all right, look, I've got some speed, got some range, I'm really going to embrace this outfield thing. Going to a tryout, when you go to a tryout, we've all been to these. Every kid wants to play an infield position.
Right.
Every kid thinks he's a shortstop. Every kid wants, okay, if you're the kid that says, no, man, put me in right field, put me in left field. I eat fly balls for breakfast. I want to do this. Do you think that opens up an opportunity for them to make a team where they may not have that opportunity before?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, sir.
But the other aspect is a lot of them don't want to play the outfield because their arm. You got to help them strengthen their arm.
Yes.
But I guess the important one is, though, letting them know it's important for the team and increase the value. I said, this is important to have you out there because you have good speed, you have good arm, have good instinct. So this is going to really help our defense by your being there. So it's just building up the fact that it's important, not just say, well, you're the odd man out, so you're in the outfield. But I look, especially when I was coming through pro ball, playing center field, it showed that I had the responsibility not only to play the outfield, but to move the left field or the right field so you can be in the right spot. Yeah. And that was great with Geronimo. So a guy has 2 strikes. I see today a guy has 2 strikes. The center field doesn't move. So if a guy's right-handed, has 2 strikes, we move toward right field.
There you
so
go.
now you get that edge. Yes. But someone just stay in the same spot playing straight away, and now a ball they almost caught, it end up missing. But we had great communication out there.
Yes.
And knowing that, okay, a guy, well, we talked before about knowing that the guy is a pull hitter, but knowing if it's pull on the ground or pull in the air. And then if a ball's hit the left center on the ground, see Geronimo being left-handed, it's going to be maybe easier for me to go after that ball and make that spin and throw compared to him. He's going to end up going farther to slow down. But we had great communication there, and it's talking, letting one know. And like I said, I had a great time when I'm playing left field or right field. Positioning. That's another part, is positioning. A ball hit down the left field line, you see a lot of guys, they don't go into that corner correctly. And the guy...
Talk about that. How do you go into a corner correctly?
So now the ball's hit down, they say the left field line, and you have a right-hander there. Some guys go in and instead of backhanding the ball down the line, they go in and try to catch it. But their front side is not, it's closed. But if I backhand it, now I take my right foot and step towards the target. That helps me to not only make a good throw, but an accurate throw. But a lot of guys go down there and they catch it with their glove, say they're facing up compared to a backhand, and now they're throwing against their body. Throwing against the body, and they're not having a good throw. But I would ask a kid, I said, one year a kid led the league in assists, and the next year he didn't. So why not? They'd say, I don't know. Well, because they stopped running on that guy. So the same thing down the right field line. You go in, catch it, and spin. But if you go in and you fall away, because I watch these guys in practice, infield practice. They don't do that much today.
No,
infield
they
practice.
don't.
How are they catching the ball?
Yes.
And the other thing is catching the ball on your gloves, on your throwing side. A lot of them catch it on your glove side. Yep. It takes time. So I know that the guy's going to catch it on his glove side. So I'm going to take that next base. But that makes a big difference in the game.
I got a question for you, George, on that. So did you guys, or did one of your coaches, or even the players, you go to a different field, did someone hit balls in the corner so you can see how to play the ball off the corner, off the wall, and things like that?
I had my outfield coach, George Sugar, every game.
Yes.
Because the situation will change if it's windy or the sun, but also get yourself acclimated again about, okay, how the ball's going to come off the wall. Yes. So he hits me ground balls down the line or hit me balls off the wall, because in Fenway, the ball depends on where it's going to hit. Part of it's concrete, some of it's made of another material, the ball comes straight down. and just seeing the surface. Because you go to Atlanta, they play football there. Atlanta, that's like concrete.
Yeah.
So you got knowing that, okay, you're going to be little defensive.
Yes.
Not being as aggressive. And then you go to an AstroTurf field like Cincinnati, you know if a ball's hit up in the air, that, like a Texas leader, play back. Because you play in, that ball's going to bounce over your head.
Yes.
And you go to Houston, they have what I call zippers on the field. It hit a zipper, and now it's like serpentine going down the field, and everybody thinks you had a bad night because the way you're running out the ball. But in Houston, you got to try to read where the ball's going to go, because according to that zipper. But it's like I said, different aspects you got to think about, and not just standing out there and hoping the ball's going to be hit. Even if the ball hits you, where do you throw it?
What was it like to play the Ivy in Wrigley Field?
I try not to get close to it. I didn't know. I don't know if Andre Dawson's coming out of there, or Billy Williams coming out of there. But it was funny when they had those commercials. Yeah. They reach in there, hey Andre, hey Billy. But I don't know, because you go in there. And somebody, back to Lenny Dykstra, he would go in there. You get thorns all in his face and his neck. It's like, what is this guy? It's like Frankenstein coming out of there. But no, I try to just play it off the wall if the ball's hit in that ivy. And plus, I don't know if it's poison ivy or what. I mean, it's thing of beauty to watch, but being able to play it, then the ball may get lodged in there.
Yeah.
Just pointing there. I'm not going to stick my hand in there. Somebody may be in there, Freddy Krueger or somebody's in there.
The other opportunity that occurred to me the other day is, to think if specializing in the outfield gives you the opportunity to make the team, it might also give you an opportunity at more regular playing time, like it did for you.
Get at bats.
Yeah. So when you went to left field, and Rose moved in, that was the beginning of you playing like every day, right?
Well, that was the beginning of the big bad red machine, because now I'm inserted into the lineup and there's more offense there.
Yeah.
I look back and said, I really felt sorry for the opposition. You had in the middle of that lineup, 3 guys could bat fourth on any team: right. Foster, Perez, and Bench. Mm-hmm. So now if Perez make an out, now the guy there's Bench. Yeah. And then now they think they're home free, but no, George Foster's coming up to bat now, and he doesn't play. So, but that did open up an opportunity for me. But the opportunity was opened up by Pete going to third base.
Right. And
because he had gone from second base to the outfield, then now he goes back to the infield. But that helps the ball club being able to have guys to be able to play other position, but do it. I mean, one guy, Daryl Thomas, he played every position. He played every position like he was an all-star. Yeah. And I said, Daryl, that is great. Being able to be, if you have first time you seen him play, you think that was his natural position. But the bottom line, though, you got to work at it and you got to want it.
Yes.
Well, that brings up another interesting point: is not only can it open up the opportunity to make the team and the opportunity to get regular playing time, it opens up the opportunity to get more at bats, which then makes you a better hitter.
Right, and plus, if you're just DH, you're labeled that you don't have any defensive skills. So, but it opens up the fact. Then the guy who's not fast or have a good arm, he can be the DH. So the manager has more choices in being able to put you in that position. Because I played a lot of right field with the Reds because Griffey and I platoon, and then I moved to left field. So I started, like I said earlier, playing center field. But in Little League, I played shortstop, then I played center field. But I love center field because I know you had more responsibility, but I love that challenge. Because I said, if the ball's not over the fence and it's in the air, I'm going to catch it. So I had I would dare myself, making sure that you cut the ball off or you catch the ball so that you know that you great defense. And then moving my outfielders, okay, I would tell a guy that, okay, I want you to move towards the line. The left-hander's hitting, and the ball's going to hook towards the line or like a slice towards the line. And they look at me like, okay, they trust my judgment because I played all those positions before. So that's the other part, is being able to learn how to play all the outfield position because the ball's going to make a different movement because the right-hander, you're in center field. They say, center field is easier because you can see the ball better. but still, it's going to help you when you go to a corner outfield.
Talk to me a little bit about how outfielders help the rest of the team with things like stopping the base runners and helping the pitcher and things like that. Like a lot of times kids might think outfield, all you do is deal with fly balls, but there's a lot to being an outfielder that actually controls. Like for instance, when you go to those young ages where there's 1,000 stolen bases a game, and
right.
Maybe it's that last coach pitch or that first kid pitch, and there's just stealing all over the place. Kids running everywhere. Like, how can your outfielders help to stop all that, stop your team from getting run all over, and how can they be helping your pitcher?
Well, number one is that learn to hit the cutoff man, and then catching the ground ball. I teach about 5 different ways of catching the ground ball, and it depends on the score. So now you're, say, ahead in the game, and the outfield is rough. So you want to get down on your throwing tight knee to block the ball. You're really in a defensive position. But some try to play the ball like they're playing the infield, and then the ball end up getting past them. Now the guy, instead of being at first base and setting up a double play, now he's at second base. So being able to make the ordinary plays extraordinarily well, and knowing where to throw the ball. A lot of times they don't know how to throw the ball, and that's back to situational play.
Yes.
Where do you throw the ball? A man on second base, know how the fly ball's hit to you. Where do you throw the ball? Some throw it to second. Said, no, you don't throw it behind the guy.
Throw it in front.
Throw it in front. But some of them don't know that, and so that will cost was a base running or outfield mistake, and now the guy advanced to third base. Now the guy's at third base with 1 out. And then a ground ball, fly ball, pass ball. That's where I scored in 72, pass ball, pitch. But now he's at third base with 1 out compared to being at second base. So that makes a difference. And like say, hitting the cutoff man, backing up, we said earlier, backing up the outfield, backing up the infield because the ball may get passed, but you're still standing in your position. Now the guy advances. But a throw to second base, like Ricky Henderson's throwing second, going to second, you get there to throw. It was an overthrow, but at least you can keep him at second base on that overthrow, and not hesitating. But you got to know where. You got to anticipate.
Yes.
Know where to go right away, not wait. And like I say, I've seen so many balls from hit down the right field or the left field line, and the guys are not backing up, but it starts also with the infield, like the first baseman. The ball's hit the outfield, and now the first baseman is supposed to be the trailer.
Yes.
But sometimes he's not trailing.
Nope.
But I remember, being in the corner, but you have to. Sometimes you're using your peripheral vision. You're knowing where to. You're already knowing. Okay, this guy is fast. I'm not going to get him at second, but I want to make sure I hit the cutoff man. The cutoff man become the first baseman.
Yes.
So now you threw this, but back in I know I'm mad and alive, but back in the World Series in '72 against the Oakland Athletics. So Matty Alou, he doesn't have a good arm. So Pete hit the ball down the right field line, and Pete should have scored. No, Joe Morgan hit it, but Pete should have scored because Matty threw the ball to second base and not to the cutoff man. So as it turned out, it was second and third compared to scoring, and then Joe Morgan would have had a triple. And because it was 3-2 at the time, it would have been 3-3. But throwing it, he got away with that at that time. But you guys knowing what the guy's arm. If he doesn't have a strong arm, just take that chance, challenging him.
I got a question. What George was saying about having a strong arm and everything, you do that in pregame. So they stopped doing that, and you probably, they stopped having teams to come out. I'm talking about travel select, where our teams, because then that's where you put fear in the other person.
Yeah,
right?
Hey, boy, we gonna show our cannons off, and you ain't gonna run on us.
And that was something I did.
They stopped doing that.
We did it with some teams, but not consistently.
Yes.
And I tell you what, when you talk about putting fear by doing it well, you make a laughing stock of yourself if you don't do it well.
Right. That's true.
And there were times that we went out there and had a bad pregame infield, and I'm like, man, we look stupid out there, and they're ready to come kick our butts.
advance.
Exactly.
Yes.
But that should be something that you're doing, almost subconsciously out there because you've done it so many times. You're just warming up. You're not working on something before the game. It's just usual at that point.
Exactly.
That a downfall for the select teams is that they play a lot of games, but they don't learn how to play.
Yeah,
so they don't get a chance to really practice. But back to we're talking about situational play.
Yes.
I would tell them the situation. So it's 1 out and a man on second base, and I hit a fly ball to the outfield, and just get them to start thinking about it. So where are you gonna throw the ball? You're gonna throw it to third, you're gonna throw it to second, but then again, like if you're a base runner, you're at second base 1 out, or you're gonna tag up, or you're going to go part way. So I've seen guys no outs, and they're at second base, and a fly ball's hit. They don't tag up. And then now it's 1 out, but he should have been at third base. Inevitably, now a fly ball's hit the next time, and there's a run. Because I look at how many times does a guy who's at third base does not score, and look at the difference in the final score.
Yes.
That's a big run.
Yes.
But I say I would call situations. I say man on second base, no outs, hit it down right field line. Where do you hit it? So that now you're getting yourself prepared for it. Don't wait until the game happens because the guy. But one guy I was telling him he didn't know where to throw the ball. So a lot of them just I don't know where to throw. I said, throw it. Pump fake. I said, throw it to the middle of the field. Throw it to the middle of the field. Let it go. At least you made a decision.
Yes. That brings up a couple of things that I want to make sure we tackle here. And first of all, is kind of a do as I say, not as I do sort of situation. Because the first thing, like what you were saying, every kid watches these monster throws, and they all want to make the monster throw. Hit the cutoff, man. Dude,
routine.
That's what you
make the routine play.
But back to the monster throw. So walk me through the 1975 World Series from the first pitch of the thing. Walk me through how it happened. I love that play.
But there's history to that. So we're going back to Dominican Republic. I'm playing right field, bases loaded, 1 out, and they gamble on the game in Dominican.
Okay,
and so I had to make a decision. There was a ball hit down the right field line. I could have caught it. I mean, it's foul. I could have caught it, but I let it go because if I catch it, the guy still can score.
Right.
So I let it drop. So I got a cascade of boos because I let it drop. So then I started saying, okay, please hit a ground ball. So now the next guy hit a ground ball. Now it's a double play. I went from a villain to a hero because I made that decision. So now I say to myself, if I'm going in for the ball, I'm going to try to catch it. If I'm going away, let it go, and hopefully the next time the guy will hit into an out. But I'm going towards the home plate, but we talk about getting into the corner. So I step with my left foot in the corner and caught it on my glove side, on my throwing side, and I took my right foot and stepped behind, so that helped me get closer to the plate, to the target. And so they were saying, get rid of the ball. I know that's in my head, get rid of the ball, but I knew the bases were loaded, so I'm going to try to hit the cutoff guy. And as it turned out, it was a 1-hop throw to Johnny Bench. I guess the only drawback is it was a brand new ball and I got grass stain on it, but it made it more dramatic. But that was the situation. It started in Dominican, the mindset. What will I do when the ball's hit to my right side or my left side? What will I do? And knowing already what I'm going to do, I'm not wait till I catch the ball, but I knowing that going into that corner, I have to be able to get there, catch it backhand, and get that crow hop and throw home.
Well, that ball was right on the line. So
you went all the way over to get it too. Yeah.
So if you let that bounce and it's foul, okay, you go again. But if that bounce is fair, I mean, you're in big trouble.
But the other factor, like I said, the bases loaded, and Fred Lynn, he ended up being the Rookie of the Year, MVP that year. So I didn't want him to get another swing. And so I said, I can catch this ball, and I'm in a position to make a throw.
Yeah.
So to turn out, I mean, we ended up getting a double play. We ended up losing that game, but that was one of the first defensive or web gems that had been shown, usually on offense. So, but that proved to kids when I was doing baseball camps. I'm doing the outfield, and one kid said, "My dad said you weren't a good outfielder." So we like take a deep breath, like, okay. But it was like God sent that that same night that game came on. And they saw my making that play. Then the next day, hey, can you teach us how to do that? so that gave me a good reputation that you can play the outfield.
Yes. That's cool.
That is.
I do want to touch on something you said though, George. Is you mentioned the ball bounced. This is something. I've been thinking about recently. And the number of throws I see in youth baseball that sail over somebody's head.
Yes.
You can never get taller, but you can block a ball on the ground. And now we see guys in the infield bouncing on purpose to first base to make sure they don't throw it over their head. So can you just kind of elaborate on the importance of keeping the throw down?
Yeah, I mean, they should be able to catch the ground. It's going to be easier to catch the ball that's low, but also the number one part is throwing a four-seamer.
Yes.
You throw a two-seamer, that ball is going to go left or right, but a four-seamer, it's going to help you to get more distance. And I was able to throw that four-seamer, so when it hit, it catch the threads on the ball, and it's going to take off towards the target. But if it's gone right or left, that made a big difference. But practice that. Once again, you got to practice it, and not just wait until that situation, but practice it. But I learned my first year in pro ball how to hold a four-seamer because I was throwing a cutter. But later on, I said, how did I throw that? Maybe I could have gone to be a pitcher. But learning, asking Mays or Bonds and those guys, they said throw a four-seamer because you don't have to throw the ball all the way in the air.
Right.
Just make that one hop. And my favorite play was at Dodger Stadium, Billy Buckner. He's a guy that, try to challenge you. So he rounds first base and I'm going to go to second. So I waved him to second and said, go ahead. And so he took off. And I said, I'm going to throw a one-hopper right to the guy. And it was out. So when I passed Billy, I said, Billy, you should have stayed at first base. But my arm felt strong that day.
Well, the other thing about the one hopper is that keeping it low. Also, if there's going to be a tag involved,
I was just about to say
it's different if it's a force, but if there's a tag involved,
the tag doesn't happen up here.
Exactly.
It happens down here.
And then teaching kids how to pick a short hop,
and
backhand or left side.
Playing third base, I had a bad habit of sailing because my arm was just a little too hot. But when I got to high school, I'll shout him out. Jacob Eversole played first base, and that dude could pick anything.
Yes, Jacob could, man.
I do not think I would have played third base if he was not the first baseman because he saved so many bad throws for me. But teaching every kid on the field how to pick a throw, teaching your middle infielders how to move their feet to receive that throw.
Right, anticipate,
But especially at the youth level, keep the ball down and learn how to block it up.
But even Thurman Munson, being a catcher, he just focused on getting the ball to second base. It didn't have to be in the air. Just that one hop made it, because he hit that grass. I don't know how much speed it's gained by hitting that, but I think that the ball's going to get there faster. And plus now the guy doesn't have to leap to get it. It's right there.
Yes. I agree.
So, building on what you said a minute ago, we've been talking about practice and getting it in your head, whatever. What are some tips for keeping yourself in the game mentally while you're in the outfield and maybe there's not a lot going on out there at the moment? What are some tips for keeping yourself in the game when the action is slow?
Well, number one, knowing how many outs there are.
Yeah.
Knowing the batter, knowing the base runner, checking what the sun feel, the wind, the field at surface, and the outfield wall. Because some of them have that warning track, knowing that it's a warning that you're getting close to the fence. But that helps keep you into the game, knowing how many outs, knowing what inning it is, knowing the batter, or knowing the count, and watching the center fielder if you're playing left or right. But being able to move and watching your coaches. So you got to, those things help you to stay in the game, because a lot of times there are times it has happened, they don't know how many outs.
No,
so
they don't.
A ball, they thought it was a third out, it's a second out, and they end up giving the ball to the fan, then they run back to get the ball from the fan. So they're not really into into how many outs. If you don't know how many outs, ask your infielder or look at the scoreboard or maybe ask somebody. But knowing how many outs, that's very important. That dictates where you're going to throw the ball. Because you're winning maybe by 3 runs, a man at second base. If the ball is not hitting directly to you, you're going to go to try to keep the batter runner from advancing. That runner at second is not as important than to keep the other guy at first base. So you know in that situation. And as a runner, you know, and say, well, like a Clemente's in the outfield, okay, you're not going to be as aggressive. But if you have a Matty Lou, you're going to be more aggressive. Because I remember against the Cardinals, I hit a Texas leaguer, and I knew that with that turf, the ball's going to bounce. So I'm right away from home plate. I'm looking to get a double. So I end up scoring a winning run, but not being complacent, stopping at first base. But as an outfielder, you got to know, okay, it's a hot day. You got that turf. Play it safe.
That's a good point.
We're seeing a lot more turf fields coming back into play, so definitely something to think about.
Yes. One thing that, and I want to give my dad some credit here. One of the things that he taught me when I was a kid was to be able to keep the game in my head. Because a lot of the times that we took in a game, it was on the radio because we were fishing or we were running around doing something. We were whatever. We didn't always get to watch it, especially if it was on a weekend. We were out doing something.
Especially Reds.
And so he
Coast.
taught me to keep it in my head and listen to it on the radio. Now I'm an auditory guy anyway. I would much rather listen to a book than read it. It just the way my brain works. But learning to be able to the game is at any time, can he ask me how many outs there are? And I can tell him. What's the pitch count? I can tell him. What's so what'd that batter do last time? I can tell him. And so when Ethan was coming up, that was one of the first things that I made sure I taught him, and it used to drive him crazy because Ethan's more of a visual guy.
Man, I struggle with that.
He wanted to watch it on television, and I'd say, no, we'd sit on the couch and listen on the radio, and he's like, Dad, just let us watch it on TV. I said, no, you got to learn to do this in your head. And so we would play the game. At any point, I say, well, how many outs are there? And you got to be able to tell me. Or what's the pitch count? You got to be able to tell me. And learning to do that so that it's second nature, so your brain is always doing something.
Well,
staying active.
When it comes to that, because I'm a visual person, I struggle with that. And when you look at it that way, then the game takes place on the whole field, not just in the infield. And I think that helps include the outfielders for sure.
Something that you've alluded to a couple of times, George, that I'd like to ask you about here is, in the old days when we actually played baseball and we didn't just play tournaments all the time, and we were in a league, and you would play the same team more than once in a year, and you would get to know the guys you were playing against because you played against the same 6 or 7 teams all year long and that kind of thing. It was a little easier to do this. In a tournament, it can be super hard because when you're in the tournament, everything's the playoffs and everything's like elimination. Talk about the research on hitters so that you know what those hitters are going to do, what they did last time, what they're going to do next time. How did you go about doing your maybe film study or game prep?
We got a lot of information from batting practice. So as an outfielder, I'm watching these guys take batting practice. So they're going to show you their true nature, where they're going to hit the ball. So now in a game situation, I'm prepared for it. And this one stand out, I repeated many, many times. This guy, Greg Gross, he just had come up. It's like in September, left-handed hitter, and he's taking batting practice, like 10 or 15 balls. No ball was on the right side of second base. So that's information that was end up helping the team situation because he's left-handed. They wanted me to play right center, move to right center against him. But I knew from batting practice, he hit every ball on the left side of second base. So that now he hits a line drive. That's his strength, but I played to his strength, and he hit it right to me. So now the coaches are like, how did you know? I said, well, just an instinct, but I had done my homework. I didn't want to tell them, you guys don't know what you're talking about. I come and did my own homework. The scouting reports, they can help, but you still need to go out there and see how the ball's moving. It's going to be slicing, if they're hooking the ball. So all that information really help in a game situation. But that's where I found watching the guys take batting practice, and then previous at bats. You know what they do. What did they do in a certain count? You take a Jack Clark, you take Mike Piazza. It's like when you get 2 strikes on these guys, those guys are great hitters. They hit the ball to right field like a left-hander. So I said, give them something to hit earlier. And like with Jack Clark, because Tom Seaver's pitching. And he feel that Jack Clark's not going to pull Tom Seaver, so we're playing him more towards center field. At least I am. And he hits a bullet down the left field line. I said, "Wow!" It proved to me that playing straight away, you have a good chance, getting to the ball. But during the course of a game, things change. Make the adjustment. I tell them when hitting, make the adjustment. Don't just stay in the same spot all the time. Make the adjustment. But back to when we talk about having 2 strikes. The guy's not going to be as aggressive with 2 strikes. So now move to the opposite field. You're more prepared. You may not catch it in air, but you cut it off so he doesn't get an extra base hit. But that's where I got my information watching the guys take batting practice.
You were talking about, George, how sometimes the pitcher will throw the ball in, trying to see if you'll jump back.
Right.
And that would give everybody an idea of where you're likely to hit the ball. Go through that again for us.
It's more so you're not really sure this is a guy that's a big guy, so he's going to evaluate how he's going to react to certain location. So I purposely have the catcher to have him throw the ball inside, and if he's jumping back and knowing that we got him with the breaking ball or the ball away. But if he's staying in there, I said, okay, being careful with this guy, especially in a situation he's going to tie or win the game. I'll pitch around this guy. But that's evaluating. But I was going to allude to a situation that I had worked with this kid when he were younger. And so now we're facing this kid in a tournament. And so, but we have high school scouts out watching this kid. So it's like, I want to win, but I still want the kid to look good. So I pitched to him instead of walking him, and he ends up hitting a couple of home runs. But it's like, I can't. I want to help the kid to be seen, but I want our team to win.
Yes.
So it's like it's a dilemma here.
Yes.
I said, I hope nobody else realizes I worked with this kid before and I know what he can do.
Yes.
And I go to games and I'm watching. I said, I wanted to say, don't pitch to this kid. Don't pitch to this kid because he threw him inside. He's closing in. I said, no, this kid's ready. And then before I could say, no, it's gone. But it's an instinct on my part.
Yes.
But then you see a kid, I said, throw him a breaking ball in the dirt, but you had to have confidence in the catcher that he's going to block it. So if he's taking a half swing, that he may go at one. But I would tell him, I said, you don't have to throw a strike to get a strike. What do you mean by that, coach? You just bounce the ball up there. Give him a chance to show you what he's going to do.
Exactly.
So we brought up a few interesting points here. The idea that learning to keep the game in your head.
Right.
Okay. Paying very, very close attention to what the other team is doing, whether it's during warm-ups or in between games or whatever. So, here some tips for young players. If you're at a tournament and, you got downtime in between the games, rather than, go get a hot dog and then go find a game to watch. Just go in, especially if you can figure out who you're going to play next or who's really tearing it up that day.
Go scout.
Right. Yeah,
yes, go
absolutely.
Scout
go and watch what they're doing.
Yes.
Or dads. Man, I know I used to drive Ethan crazy with this stuff, but every game, sometimes I know he was like, can we just relax and watch a game? But every game was a learning opportunity. Every game was, so what did this guy do last time? So where did he hit it last time? So what's going on? Get that mental game going all the time.
Yes.
Because those are things you can do in your spare time. Make it into a game. Have fun with it.
Yes.
But make it into something that allows them to start keeping that game in their head. Ethan is more than my podcast partner. He's my son. And like every baseball parent, my first priority was his development as a player. Every year, we'd start out with a new coach and a new team, making new promises, only to end up playing the same old tournaments with little to no practice in between. You know what I'm talking about. That's why I'm so thankful that we found MD&I Academy. I first met Coach Rick over a decade ago when Ethan was just a kid, and I'll never forget the relief I felt watching his first lesson. I knew right then that no matter what team he played for, my son would have amazing, consistent instruction from someone who cared. Rick has trained baseball and softball players at the select, travel, and even college levels, so I knew that Ethan could continue his excellence through training approach for his whole baseball career. He learned hitting, pitching, catching, fielding, and more all in one place. Most of all, he learned to love the greatest game in the world and how to play it with character and integrity. MD&I is a first-class facility with plenty of tunnels for hitting and pitching instruction that open up into large areas for teaching fielding, base running, speed, and agility. They even have a weight room for strength training. So if you're wearing yourself out running all over town to multiple teachers, or worse, you're counting on that new select coach to actually develop your child, you need to check out MD&I Academy today. Go to mdaiacademy.com and contact Coach Rick to learn how you can get all the baseball instruction you need from someone who cares about your favorite player as much as you do at MD&I Academy. All right, so we're going to finish up today with little skills and drills. So I read someplace online, this was the statement that Willie Mays was the standard by which outfielders were judged, pretty much across the board. And George, you had the privilege of being able to come up under a guy like that. Can you speak a little bit toward what are some things that you learned from him? It's
back to knowing the situation and playing to that situation and always communicating and being even if you're not a center fielder, but communicating. But the one that I feel saved my life or saved my career, teaching me how to catch a fly ball out of the sun. You become too defensive if you don't know, you're letting the ball drop. But then after a while, I was like an expert knowing how to do that.
So what is the secret to catching it out of the sun? I'm curious.
Well, the key is that so the sun is one of the brightest ball of all. So you go in to your left and let the ball come out. So you're not looking directly into the sun. Mm-hmm. So a lot of them, they have their sunglasses on, they're getting real low, shading their eyes, but it's right into the sun. So if you go in and let the ball come out, then you're able to catch it. You may not be in a good position to make a throw, but the key is catching the ball. And after you do that, because when we play in the playoffs and I knowing that, okay, I'm in the sun field, and if I hit a ball in the sun, I'm taking off because I know there's a chance that guy's going to miss the ball. So I'm get a double or triple in that situation. But in my case, I'm out there like Fred Astaire, doing my little dance because I know that I go in and let the ball come out. But until Willie Mays taught me how to do it, I was getting hit in the chest. He said, let me show you how to do it before you kill yourself. Like in Chicago, the ball's real low, but people try to get real low. But I said, no, go in and let the ball come out.
Yeah.
It sounds easy, but once you start doing that, it's like a piece of cake.
So everybody's got a lid on their cat, okay? Mm-hmm. So anything below your lid, you're coming forward on the ball, okay? Because it's a line drive. Anything above your lid, you drop stepping and going back because it's over your head. Do you have you ever used that before?
Not as much as the lid, as more the chest.
Okay.
And the ball's coming, say chest top, but you still a line drive, you don't want to charge it.
Right.
Because you want to step back and see how the ball's going to react.
Right.
But with a fly ball, a lot of guys don't know how to catch. They don't like to or know how to catch a fly ball that's real high. So I always pretend that if I let the ball go, it's going to hit me right in the sternum. So you play that ball like it's going to hit you in the chest, and compared to your forehead, because it's going to be over your head. Mm-hmm. So that helped me to judge the ball much better. But it's that you stand your ground on that line drive, stand your ground, but I play it more according to chest high or letter high.
Okay, good, cool. Good.
So what are, along with skills and drills here, so what are some skills that are necessary to play the outfield well that aren't catching fly balls? And what are some drills to work on those if there's nobody to hit you fly balls? What do you work on to become a better outfielder if there's nobody to hit you fly balls?
What I would do is go to a handball court and throw the ball
off the yes.
So now you have these corners. I hit them in the corner, and then it helps you to. If the ball's going to go to your right or left or straight ahead, throw it high, throw it low. Because I would do that in my camps and clinics. So the kids would throw the ball against the wall and they learn how to field the ball. And like I said before, there are 5 different ways of, say, catching the ground ball. So I say, okay, down on one knee. I want you to backhand it. And then the aggressive one, you're coming in as a do or dare situation. So it's easy. And then they have these pitchbacks. So you use the pitchback and throw it against that pitchback, or finding a concrete wall to be able to do that. But you can have, like I say, throwing against the wall, or throwing fly balls, just throwing to yourself, fly balls, and getting your footwork.
When you approach a ground ball and you judge it by speed, slow your feet down, because that's the first thing you got to do, field the ball.
Right. But they run through it.
Yes.
They run through it.
Yes, they do. And I'm like, oh, man. So those are things that you got to slowly, again, using a wall. You can use a wall to do that. Throw it a little lower so you can get a ground ball effect. Throw it higher. Guess what? Throw it over your shoulder. Boom. You can you can, there's so many
getting
things.
A tennis ball.
Yes, a tennis ball. We did a tennis ball or a rubber ball all the time, man. So,
well, and Rick, I know speed and agility was a big thing for you. You were always on that. So talk about the importance of speed and agility for
plyos. I think plyos, jumping from one foot to the other foot. Lot of drop steps. You
get a pond and put piranhas in it. That really helped with your
box jumps. A lot of stuff that kids can do on their own. Broad jumps, we just jump off steps, man, and little things like that. Work on an explosive. But the key thing out of every position that you play, I think we have to address throwing and catching.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I see that as something, and that's for outfielders too, infielders, long toss, developing your arm, man. You could throw rocks, man, tennis ball, just long toss, strengthen your arm.
The other thing is, when it comes to throwing and catching, like you're talking about, throwing with intention. And because
I like that.
Especially it applies to every position.
Yes, it do.
Differently in each way, but it does apply. When, especially with, let's talk about relays, because that's so important at a young level. You need to know how to do that. Making sure you're throwing to the right side for your fielder to be able to turn and make that throw. How many times do you see a relay and the shortstop is reaching
they
like
don't
this? You're not in position to make that throw.
They don't know how to move their feet to get to the ball.
We talked earlier about being able to throw to a tag.
Yes.
And that kind of thing. And all of that you can work on every single time you throw. I wish I had more intention in warm-ups, because that guy's going to hold his glove up every single time he's catching a ball. Throw it to a specific spot, so that you're doing it subconsciously without having to think about it, and it makes your relays more efficient.
I agree.
But one that I didn't do a lot myself, because I hit a lot of home runs. No, I didn't do a lot myself by teaching the kids how to slide.
Right. Yes, so, that's another.
So that's a deterrent as far as them. If they don't know how to slide, they're not going to try to advance and stealing a base or running the bases. So in the beginning, I have them, and this part is going to help with the defense. So teaching them how to slide, but then now throw a baseball, I want you to slide and be able to catch it.
Yes.
But I didn't. As far as diving, I try to get away from that. But being able to slide and catch the ball. So now they're not. Now they're learning how to slide, and then they improve their defense. But it's adding fun to it. Let's do that again, coach. Let's do that again. But in the beginning, just sliding is like, no, I don't really want to do that. But okay, let's make it fun.
There you go,
George. What you're saying, you're spot on again, because if the kids were free to go out and play amongst themselves, guess what? They would be doing that without nobody trying to tell them to do.
Especially if the grass is wet.
Yes, boy.
Everybody loves to slide when the grass is
man.
wet.
They'll dive for balls and everything, because they're playing on their own terms. You know what I'm saying? With nobody trying to control them or anything. But
It's too regimented sometimes. But the coaches who do not know how to do it, they're not thinking about having fun, and they want them to be perfect.
Yes,
but
yes,
no.
And you can't.
Well, let me wrap us up here with just a little bit more here. One of the things I did in preparation when I was writing the outline for this week's show was I went online and I started looking at what questions people were asking about outfield online. And by far, the number one thing that the internet wants to know regarding outfield is why the gloves are bigger, what size glove you should wear, all about the gloves. So, Ethan, why don't you walk us through glove tech when it comes to outfield?
The first answer I would say is that make sure the glove is something the kid can use. Conventionally, I think an outfield glove is usually 12 1/4 inches or bigger. But don't get a glove so big that the kid can't use it, because then you're just doing them a disservice.
Too heavy.
100%.
Yes, too heavy.
But George, we talked about this briefly when it came to the gloves. Something I'm seeing a lot is players shifting their fingers and putting 2 fingers in the pinky slot and then moving something away from the forefinger. And when did you start doing that?
After Willie Stargell hit me in the hand and it got a bone bruise. But I started doing that because with Willie Mays, he's saying that you have a longer reach, because I was using, it was a long glove as it is, kangaroo skin, so we could stretch it. But being able to put your hand there, and so almost part of my heel of my hand was out of the glove, but my fingers were strong enough to be able to hold on to the glove.
Right.
I didn't have all fingers in each pocket,
right?
But that's something the kid had to get used to.
So that opens up a couple of things. So like we said, make sure the glove is usable, because if it's not, then it's not actually helping them.
Right.
When you're saying that Willie Mays taught you 2 in the pinky, so that's the 60s, and that's just now gaining popularity, which is funny because for a while I've been trying to figure out who was the first person to do that, and the only thing I could find in a book was Bernie Williams in the 90s. But what you're saying predates that by quite a bit. So that's something that's been around for a long time, and not a lot of people
there, but it hadn't
about.
really been talked much
Exactly.
about.
And so there's a couple of advantages to that. Like you were, the obvious one is that now you have your pinky is your weakest finger, and now you have the strength of 2 fingers rather than just 1, and it moves your pointer finger out of the way, and so you're closing like this rather than like this,
and no bone bruise,
and no bone bruise. And so you're even seeing infielders doing that now. But it's huge because it gives you that clamping power. The other thing, the thing I think that gets overlooked is, like you were saying, the way that it shifts your palm. When your hand is in the glove like this, okay, that line is right here. But when you shift it like this, now less of your hand is in the glove. When your hand, the more hand in the glove, the more obstruction there is to closing, because the leather will collapse on itself, no big deal. But if there's a fleshy hand in there, it can't close around. Right. So it makes it floppier, easier to use.
So like the crease in your hand, that's what had the crease in the glove.
100%. It's funny you bring up kangaroo leather because we really don't see that anymore. No. I believe, was that with McGregor?
McGregor.
And so that's a whole nother thing, because McGregor doesn't even make ball gloves anymore.
No.
But they were a big player in ball gloves.
I think the kangaroos protested. No more.
But kangaroo leather is interesting because I have done a few, and I've seen them come. I've seen them come from McGregor. I've seen them come from Nakona. But the thing about kangaroo leather, like we had talked about, is it's very thin.
Yes.
And so it tears.
It tears inside. Yeah. So outside it look like brand new, but inside it does tear.
But it's light and it's floppy. So you can always know exactly where the ball is.
Some of them, the ball help close the glove. So it's right there. It fits right in. But when you have to sometimes clamp, then that takes time, but because you're reaching,
right?
So you're reaching, getting that extension, so the ball goes right into the glove.
It's kind of auto catch at that point,
right?
But so now we get to why there's a difference, and it's because of the functionality that and the different situations that the player finds himself in, right? So in the infield, you need fast hands.
Yes.
You're more just want a wall.
You're just deflecting.
Deflecting, exactly. You're never doing that in the outfield.
No.
You're trying to secure it.
Yes,
that is your number one goal.
That's your
if you have a giant glove and you're trying to secure it at second base, you're never turning that double play.
Right.
So number one, get something they can use. Secondary is starting to think about sizing.
The word you said, usable.
Usable, absolutely. And that even comes into play when you're talking about upgrading, even if the player's not changing positions, upgrading to the next quality of glove. Yes. Unless you're having a problem, don't change anything, because if you get too stiff of a glove that you can't use, it's not helping you. Exactly. And I want you to exercise some caution when buying as a gift, because I understand the idea of wanting it to be a surprise, but be careful, because if it's not what they want or need, you might be headed in the wrong direction.
Right.
So
maybe, and they're not cheap.
And they're not.
And they're not.
I was going to say it's a big investment.
It is.
And not only the investment, the monies you put out, but you want to have a usable. Back to the word usable. You don't want to get it 1 year, then it's thrown aside. You got to get another one. So go to an expert who knows, so that you starting from a good foundation, knowing that this is the correct glove, and this is the way to break it in.
Yeah, it's not just it's not necessarily a one break-in fits all, or one one style fits everything. There's different styles and patterns and sizes and webs for different reasons.
And I think that's what people need to understand too, the different webs. And I think
different
Ricky,
color of laces.
He used a trapeze.
What, rainbow color?
Outfield. Yeah.
Well, and the different ways they use a glove. One of the things that used to blow my mind, and I still have never been able to figure this out, because my dad would play church softball. We'd all be on the softball team, and the man is crazy. He would field ground balls on the back of his glove. It would never actually go into the glove.
Right.
Sometimes he'd just trap it on the back of the glove so he could pick it off and throw it.
Yeah,
and he was tough that way. I always appreciated that.
No, but
so
that's
you never know how
going back.
use it.
Mazeroski, all these great infielders, or Fregosi, Knopp. They didn't really. The ball didn't go into their glove. It's maybe on the heel or on the back of the glove, because they can be able to get rid of it.
Yeah, that'll have to be a whole nother segment for infielders. Learning how to deflect the glove.
I forgot. Do not try that at home.
Yeah, that's not good. It'll run right up your arm and knock you in the head. Level swing. Let it travel. Wait for your pitch. Be aggressive out there. It's no wonder young players get confused at the plate. What if your son or daughter could learn not only how to hit the ball, but also where to hit it, when to hit it there, and why? George Foster has played baseball at the very highest levels. He was the National League MVP when he hit 52 home runs and 149 RBIs in a single season. He led the major leagues in home runs twice and RBIs 3 times. He was a 5-time All-Star, a Silver Slugger, and he helped the Reds win back-to-back World Series. During his 15-year career, George developed a unique approach to hitting that made him one of the greatest hitters of all time, and now your favorite player can learn it too. That's right. Baseball legend George Foster is currently accepting new students. Learn the psychology of hitting, situational hitting, hitting for power, bunting, and more. Every team needs players who can hit, and George explains the game in a way that's easy to understand and exciting to learn. So check out GeorgeFosterBaseball.com to learn how you can apply for private lessons with a member of the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. Spots are limited, and the roster will fill up fast, so don't wait. Apply at GeorgeFosterBaseball.com. All right, fellas. Well, let's just to kind of wrap us up here a little bit. We talked a lot about outfielding today. We talked about the fact that embracing the outfield can open up some opportunities, can help you make a team, get some playing time, get some at-bats. We talked about some important skills to outfield that you can practice both in a team setting and on your own. We talked about some glove tech today, so I'm sure we'll be back to outfielding more, in the future. It's a wide topic, and we have some pretty great expertise here at the table. So we're thankful for the opportunity. But if you've enjoyed this episode today and you want to check it out, you can do that at CompleteGamePodcast.com. And until next week, we'll see you. We hope you've enjoyed the Complete Game Podcast, the show that's all about baseball. New episodes drop each week, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. If you'd like to support the podcast, consider leaving us a 5-star rating, or better yet, drop us a comment or a question and let us know what you think. The Complete Game Podcast is produced and distributed by 2 Creative Digital Marketing. Check us out at 2creativedigital.com. On behalf of Ethan, Coach Rick, and the Silver Slugger George Foster, I'm Greg Dungan saying have a great week, and we'll see you real soon.